things we really wanted to focus on were, well, there was bullet time obviously, and expanding the bullet time concept to apply to all of the sort of people, characters and the factions that were in multiplayer. And we also wanted to bring the strong single-player narrative concepts into multiplayer as well. So I think those were the two of our key aims, really, to solve bullet time and to develop the narrative element of multiplayer. We had to keep all the core elements of the single player because, I mean, that's what makes Max Payne. Bullet time, the shoot dodging, the third person aspect naturally. I think it's very important to sort of treat the multiplayer with a degree of integrity and keep it true to what the single player has done. We wanted to keep the multiplayer as similar as we could to single player, but we did have to make a few changes. So one of the major ones is health regen. In single player, it's health pickups and manual regen. In multiplayer, we have automatic regen. You could get unfair advantages by health pickups, essentially. And so the health regen we really found leveled the playing field. So people who have spawned recently or people who have spawned near health pickups don't get an advantage over people who've been playing in the game. I guess the other big change we did from single player is the bullet time concept isn't the only special power, if you like. In multiplayer, we have a whole range of special powers that kind of fit to the characteristics of the guys you're going to come across in multiplayer. When we started developing multiplayer and looking at the stories for Gang Wars, looking at the sort of characters we might have in the stories and the factions that you play, they're not just hardboiled cops, you know, a whole range of characters. So they sort of live by their wits and deviousness. We're really keen to explore those concepts and kind of concepts from the Max Payne story, trying to bring those into the gameplay. You know, there's a lot of conspiracy in Max Payne. So there's a burst called Paranoia. And the first level, each burst has 3 levels, makes all of your teammates look like enemies. So that makes it kind of confusing to play. You're not quite sure who's on your side. But the second level of that turns on friendly fire and puts a bounty on one of your teammates. So if you're a close team, maybe that close-knit team, maybe you'll be okay. But, you know, sometimes maybe one of your guys is saving up for a new rifle and might take the bounty off you. So this is the way we really want to kind of play with the players' heads and get that feeling of, like, you know, not quite knowing what's going on, that feeling you get from the Max Payne story, that you're heart of a mystery. So we're kind of trying to bring these burst concepts that kind of play with your head a little bit when you're playing the game. Well, when we sat down and thought about how we were going to make bullet time work in multiplayer, I mean, you had to make it work, you know, you had to bring it across. It's a signature part of the game. We immediately ruled out the idea of it affecting everybody in the map, and we didn't want to have like it in a local area, like a sort of like small bubble or anything like that. So we developed about, I don't know, 24 concepts on paper, and some of them are pretty way out, you know, really asking our coders to break the space-time continuum really, and, you know, change time on different people's consoles and stuff. But we eventually settled on the line-of-sight system because we never wanted to see people in bullet time if you're out of bullet time, because you'd obviously have some sort of unfair advantages going on. And there were, well, a year of polishing and tweaking and just changing the rules slightly. So there's all sorts of things to prevent it flickering on and off, or to change the strength of it on distance, so it never feels unfair or annoying to someone caught in it. It just feels like, you know, it's all seamlessly part of the game. We do actually have 2 systems for aiming. We have the soft lock, which is for players who might not feel so confident in entering like the hardcore competitive sort of style of FPS playing, and we think it's a great in for those players, and they're going to really enjoy being able to get into multiplayer and rack up the kills and stuff. But also we were aware that we wanted this to be a game for hardcore gamers as well, so we spent a long time developing a whole range of cameras and aim systems that work only for hardcore players. And we've actually balanced every single weapon as well, because if you can imagine, if you have soft lock, your weapon accuracy is hugely increased. So all of the weapons have been individually balanced for both soft lock and free aim modes to give, you know, the best feel for each weapon. I think the fact that we're third person gives us a really interesting, different gameplay space, if you like, from an FPS. We have this great sort of kinetic gunplay where, because you can see your character and because you know the guys have a great range of movement, you've got the shoot dodging, the rolling and taking cover and bolting, all those things, they push the gameplay in a different direction to a sort of like a more standard FPS. So I think there's a lot of sort of new gameplay to explore for people who are familiar with first-person shooters. We developed a number of multiplayer modes to fit into the Gang War structure because we wanted to give a variety in gameplay, but also the narrative element of Gang Wars kind of demanded a lot of ways to express gameplay. So there's games about carrying bags across the map and delivering bags, and games about bombings, there's games about taking turf off other gangs, but it's all really been driven by, like I say, the story element of Gang Wars, trying to tell a good story using the gameplay of the multiplayer game. We're really excited about crews. There's basically two types. There's a private crew, which the players themselves set up, and there can be up to 250 members in that crew. And there's also public crews that Rockstar will create, and they're basically unlimited. And so when you go into the lobby and into the game will pick the teams based on what crews are in the game, so you'll always be buddied up with your crew members. You'll see you have crew insignias, and you'll see that on your body, on your back. When you get the kills, the person you killed will see the crew that you belong to. And we have a crew vendetta system as well. So if there's two crews in two teams and they get a certain kill threshold, it'll kick off a little mini game in the game where it's called a crew feud, and the first crew to get 10 kills against the other crew wins. And also crews will be extended to our other titles, and you'll be able to take your crew from Max Payne 3 into GTA 5. Max Payne 3 is out on the consoles on the 15th of May in the US and the 18th of May in the rest of the world, and on the PC it's out on the 29th of May in the US and the 1st of June in the rest of the world.